Hey guys, this is Dane from NYY News TV. I would like to welcome you to our new podcast, the Dominican Summer League, IFAs, and what comes next. You know my co-host Carlos, and we have a special guest on today, Nick. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Now, I got to give a little backstory on you, bro. We met on a chat forum about prospects and stuff like that, and you kept telling me 5-6 years ago about all these kids that were getting signed. And most of the time when you get information like that, it's like, we'll see. You have not missed in any year that I have ever known you. You knew about Jason 2 years before. You knew about Roderick 2 years before. You know about Brando Maea 2 years before. So this is an opportunity for us to get you on here because you're the only one in this market that I believe. So tell us what you have for us, bud.
All right, so you want to start with the upcoming class?
Yeah, so let's start with what's the Yankees have coming next year, what we're planning on signing, and then we'll go through the next couple classes.
All right, so I'll give a couple of kids in the next couple of classes. So we'll for next year, man. We have a couple of shortstop kids coming in. Steven Romans, left-handed shortstop bat, man. I like him. I think the bat looks polished. The arm is probably about a 50 grade, man, 55 grade.
Nice.
Sneaky kind of kid. I think he's gonna be a very, very good like up and comer. Like he's gonna be a kid that's like that pops out of nowhere. People don't really know about him yet, but I like the bat from the left-handed side, and I think
Like a Kiner, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. I think a little more thump, but yeah, he's that kind of kid.
So he's a lefty?
Yeah, he's a lefty, yeah. So you have on top of that, man, you got a kid named Angel Marte. He's a 6'3" center field kid that we're signing next year. Super fast. He's got probably about a 50, 55 bat, but his power lacks. He's not a big power dude for a bigger guy. So he's more speed, hit. The arm is about a 50, 55 grade too. So the field is probably there too. He's a little tweener kid, but he's got potential as well, man, to hopefully, make a name for himself. So you got him as well. Then we're gonna get into some bigger ones, man. You have Francisco Villare. I definitely botched that, but I'm not gonna lie.
No worries.
Carlos would know. But he's a jacked center field kid, and he's probably one of the kids that's like top 50 in the entire class. So he's a jacked right-handed bat, man. Plays a very exciting center field. His power is probably about 55 grade, maybe 60 grade. He can field it. He's got a good arm, about 55, 60 arm from center field. And he's fast too. He's fast. He's about a 6-foot kid, man. He's exciting. So he's a kid to definitely be on the lookout for.
And you said he was right-handed?
Yeah, he's a right-handed bat.
Okay.
He's a right-handed bat as well. And then the top kid in the class next year is going to be Steven Martinez. He's like 6'3" kid, big right-handed bat, monster power. Like it supposedly could grow into 60, 65 power at the major league level. So it's raw, but I don't know if they're going to try to play him because his speed right now is about 50 to 55. I don't know if they're going to try to start him in center field and then he moves to a corner eventually, or if they just start him in a corner position. But he's a kid, man, to be really excited about. Like the bat, he's a right-handed bat too, but he's exciting, man. He's an exciting big kid. So.
And do you have a comp for him when he was younger?
I don't like doing man comps at that age. It's hard.
That's true. Good point. Good point.
It's hard to comp somebody, right? I think he's just himself, man. Like that's what I always say about these players, man. They're all themselves. And they'll come into it. But he's exciting. All I know is, like I said, it's hard to say who we've signed that's similar to that kind of build and that kind of thing. Because I don't think he's as athletic as Alcantara, but he's an exciting kid. So
you said he's a big kid?
Yeah, he's 6'3".
Wow. Well, the good news about that is there's some outfielders in that class instead of all middle infielders.
Yeah. And then you have some other kids. You have a shortstop, Feliz. He's another solid kid. I mean, we're talking there. You got a couple of catchers in the class, as well as Capellian. And you have Pineda also goes by Alberto Martinez. You have there's one more kid I'm drawing a blank on. Zapata, who's an outfielder as well. Those are like the lower signings, but like not too much known on them. But those are kids that are also going to be in that class next year. So
I've spoken a few times to Manny Cedeno. Is he part of that class?
he's the following year.
Okay.
He's the following year.
Okay. Now, that class is considered an okay class for us. Is it one of our top classes?
I feel like it's more wild. Like it's not like a big signing. You don't have that guy that's going to jump out on you and be like, "Oh my God, yeah, you got that giant kid." But I think it could. Steven Martinez could definitely headline that class. But I don't think you're going to look back and be like, "Yeah, man, you just got a Roger Arias or a Mael, or you just got a Wandy assigned, who we'll talk about in a little bit."
Yeah.
So this class sounds more like maybe Hans Montero's class.
Yeah, I would say it's like that.
There's no
it's
major
deep.
top 20. There's no major top 20 signing in this class for the Yankees.
Yeah. I think it's a little deeper though. I think it's deeper than Hans's class. So.
That sounds exciting. But the really exciting class and the really exciting player is the following year.
2 more years after that.
20. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
let's
2
get
more years.
Okay. So
That class, the
what
next year's class there's 2 kids. So like he just mentioned, Manny Cedeno, right-handed bat, elite bat, man. The kid is a hard worker. He's become like one of my favorite people, man. I'm sure Carlos will speak to him, and he's a good kid to talk to. He's fun, he's exciting, man. The bat looks legit from the right-handed side. I think he could play shortstop and stick there. And he's a kid that's going to come to work every single day, man. He loves the game of baseball, man. He'll talk to you, doesn't care about anything. How he can get better, what it's like to live in New York, things along those lines. He wants to be the best that he can be and try to impact your team. So I like that kid a lot, man. He's not, like I say, it's talent-wise, he's not like a Roger there, but he's probably a top 30, 50 kid in that class. So you have him. And then the top kid in that class is actually Ruben Castillo. Left-handed center field prospect, man, who has every single tool above average. Like, from what I'm hearing, he's a very exciting kid, man. He's fast. He's got 65 to 70 speed. The arm is about a 55. The fielding is 60. I heard the hit tool could be anywhere from 50 to 55, and then you're looking at 50 to 55 power from a left-handed bat. So it's kind of like that Esteban Florio ceiling, man, when he was young, but I don't think there's as much swing and miss in the game. So
that's going to be big.
So he's an exciting kid, man. He's an exciting kid to be on the lookout for, and he plays center field. He'll stick there. He will 100% stick there, and he's a left-handed bat.
Okay. They need more of that in the system.
Yeah, they need a lot more of that in the system.
So I'm excited.
Sounds like it should be. Power potential, not quite there yet, you said?
He's still young. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you're not going to expect those kids to spread the ball out, but they say he could have 50 to 55 home run power.
50 to 55 home runs or 50 to 55?
No, like power, like the
okay.
Power grade.
Oh, okay.
He's hit 50 to 55 home runs, man. He's a generational player.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going, whoa. But
so let me ask you, so in these 2 classes, how about, is there a pitcher to look out for? Anybody that you know?
Not that I know of yet, to be completely honest with you, man. I have to keep digging more for that. Those are like, I feel like the Yankees don't jump out and sign a big pitcher ever, man. It's like those little under the radar guys, and then they pop the day that you sign them. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't really know them. They're off to the side, man.
Yeah, I think for the last 2 years that I followed, I think Jerson was probably the biggest IFA signing that they've done, that I know of. I mean, looking back, I can't think of anybody who got 6-7 figures, well, pitching wise, from the Yankees.
FCL did.
You had Roansy Contreras, you had kids like Luis Medina and stuff like that, but they don't go out there and sign like $1 million kid. You won't see that. I feel like with the Yankees.
Didn't FCL get $2.5 million when we signed him though?
Nah, $600K.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I thought he got more than that.
No, he was supposed to get more, but he ended up only signing for $600K.
He's getting screwed right now, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Well, at least he's promoted now. But so I think, and of the other, and like you said, they do a lot of lower tier pitching prospects, and they have a lot of good ones in the system. Like right now, Chalian Arias he's killing it right now. He's one of the best pitchers in the DSL. You have Omar Gonzalez, who finally seemed like he was on the right track. But I spoke to him yesterday, and he told me he was hurt, so he'll be on the shelf for a few weeks. And a few of the other guys that they had, like Lagrange, who only signed for 10K, which I don't understand how he only signed for 10K. And then you have Lane, you have Jordan Mendoza. They have signed a few of those guys that have been done pretty well for them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, those arms have been, different. Like I said, I think they're trying to like find the guys that they can mold and pitch on the bigger level, and continue to grow them and see if they can get it. Like I think Yuli's another one that's like a good comp. They go for those bigger size pitchers that might just be like 89 to 91, and then grow them up to throw 96 to 98. You know what I'm saying?
Angel Benitez.
Yeah, he was the best one supposedly. So
yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing him this season. But when I read that he got that Tommy John, I was like, oh man, I really was looking forward to this.
Yeah, at least he's still young, man. So it should be a quick
definitely
move. So
on the pitching side, it seems like they're doing the same thing in international free agency that they are in the draft, where they're trying to find those smaller dollar arms or later round signings that they can put through their pitching program and completely change.
Yeah, that fits a mold. I think that's pretty much the same thing, man. I think you're just going to continue to see that kind of thing. It just will one eventually help pop. You know what I'm saying? Will they give them an opportunity to let them pop at the major league level? I think that's the question, man.
That is.
So.
And then the next year is when we get really, really excited.
Yeah. So that's the big. I'll talk about him in a second, man. There's another kid that just came out. His name is Orton, man. Yorlin Orton. He's an outfielder. He's a shorter kid, but he's contact skills, man. But he's a good. He probably end up. He's center now. He's fast, man. He's a quick little kid, but he's like Kiner in the outfield. I think it's the bat. The bat skills are very impressive, man. He'll hit all around. You're just hoping that it translates, right? Because with Kiner, it translated, and he's been one of the best walk to strikeout hitters, probably in the FCL and the DSL. But he's a kid that's to look out for, man. He's another big one. And then
what's his name again?
Yorlin Orton.
Okay.
And then you have obviously the big kid, man, who's obviously Wandy Asai, man. That kid you can't miss. Like he's one of the top talents you'll see the Yankees ever sign in a class. He's elite. He's gonna stick at shortstop. The arm is, like I said, 65, 70 grade, man. The field is 65, 70 grade. The hit is 60. The power is coming. Supposedly, man, it's a tool that he's been working on when he was working out with Feldman, that he was driving the ball a little bit more because he was working out with Celestin over there as well. And he's fast, man. He's like a 55, 60 speed kid when it's probably all said and done. So he's going to probably steal a good 20, 30 bases. He's going to be exciting. He's probably your shortstop of the future. There's no questions, man. He's going to be a kid that there's nobody moving him off. I don't see anybody that's better than him that's going to move him
even
off.
Roderick.
Not Roderick, not Volpe, not Peraza. None of them. I don't think they're going to compete with that kid's defensive potential.
And the scouts that I've talked to about him think that he might be as good a shortstop that has ever come out of there, period.
He's elite, man. He's an elite kid, man. It was between, because I remember he was working out with who's the little guy from the Toronto Blue Jays? I'm drawing a blank for a second, man. Beltre, Emmanuel Beltre, who's big time bat, like a monster bat kid. But he went out there and ran circles around him. And that's when the Yankees saw him there, like, who is this kid? Like, kind of like a wake-up eye, like, who's this kid coming up? And he's a lefty, man. So they saw that, and they were like, okay, he's only got to focus on one side of the plate. So with Roderick and Dominguez, you got to focus on two sides of the plate during your development, all the way up, And with him, it's just one side, kind of like Brandon. Brando, is going to be easier for him, man, get it done. But he's exciting, man. He's a kid and he's fun, man. He's fun to talk to, man. He's a good kid. He's the same way like Manny, man. He's a hard worker. He wants to be the best. That's his goal, man. And they all talk about God. That's a big thing, man, for them down there, man. It's all about you know, if God allows it and stuff like that. But he's fun, man. He's a fun kid. He's a good kid. He's gonna be elite. I'm telling you, he's a special talent.
What's the body like, or what's the body project to be size wise?
Probably about 6'1".
Oh wow, okay.
So he's getting there, man. He's gonna be exciting. I'm telling you, he's probably like the perfect. He reminds me a lot of like a more exciting Lindor. Like that's kind of like what I could see there. Like I said, it's more exciting because I don't think Lindor coming up was ridiculous, right? Like when he was
Yeah.
on there, he's a lot like that kind of kid, man. It's there. I just don't think Lindor had the speed that he has. That's different. And Lindor is a fast kid, but it's not the kind of speed that he has. So
Wow. And he's
that's just
2020.
crazy because that's I
Go
was
ahead,
gonna say that's crazy because that's what I've been reading lately that they've been saying about Roderick, and you're already hearing that about this kid right here. I mean, just talks to how special he could be.
yeah,
Yeah.
breaking Roderick was fun, man. I'll be honest with you. Breaking Roderick was one of my favorite things to do. I remember the first day I found out about it, I got to tell everybody. I was like, oh my God, you know, they're signing Roderick Arias, man. And everybody was like down there, like, keep it quiet, don't say anything, like we don't want this getting out. But it was people want to know about that. You know, people want to know you're signing
Absolutely.
superstar at shortstop, you know, like, and listen, man, he had an injury last year. That's why, you know, you guys even asked me, or I think it was Dane, he was like, you think Roderick's going to be all right? I'm like, yo, man, he's fine. He's fine. He's going to be okay. I'm not worried about that kid. I only say that periodically about kids like Dominguez. I'm not really worried about Dominguez, man. He's 20 years old at Double A. I'm not worried, man. People don't talk about him as much, and that's good. That's going to be a good thing because eventually you're just going to be able to slide it up, and it'll be like, okay, here he is. But he's like those levels, man. You don't worry about those kids. You kind of just let them play, and they'll figure it out.
I think
That's
the same thing about
impressive.
Dominguez. I think the same thing about Dominguez. Like, yes, it's frustrating that the batting average is low, but I tell everybody, I'm like, look, all the other numbers are fine. Yeah, maybe the strikeouts are a little bit high, but again, he's 20 years old. I think he's the youngest or second youngest player in the league, and you have players coming out of college who are 3-4 years older than him already. So, I mean, don't cross him off.
Yeah, at all.
Don't cross him. I know there's prospect fatigue because he's been on top prospect list for what now? 4 or 5 years. I don't even know how
Oh,
long he's been.
He's the most hyped international kid ever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it just comes with the territory, but just be patient. It'll happen.
He was so unbelievably raw when we got him, and missing that first year due to
Yeah,
COVID.
that was
That's a
huge.
big year.
Yeah,
So let's get.
his power skills are ridiculous. His power skills are ridiculous.
Oh yeah, they're off the chart. So let's jump in. I want to get your thoughts on some DSL guys. What do you think about some of the guys down there?
You want Carlos to start? I'll let Carlos
No,
start.
I want you to start.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll throw a ball to you. Like, just ask you what you think. What do you think about Lara?
That's my favorite kid, man. That's my favorite kid.
That's
I like.
by the way, that's for those who don't know, that's Gabriel Lara. He was a shortstop, but they converted him into a center fielder.
Because of the speed. The speed is so
Yeah.
insane, man. I remember I talked to that kid before he signed. I was like, man, like just tell me a little bit about yourself. He's like, I don't hit much for power, but I'm fast. I'm just fast. Like he's like, I'm just faster than everybody else. And I was like, all right, man. And he was like, but he's such a fun kid, man. He's a fun kid to watch and play. And I feel like once he understands the game a little bit more, he's gonna go. He's gonna
Yeah,
go.
it's all raw right now. And the funny thing about that, I think he's either the lead or the co-lead in home runs on the team.
Yeah, he's hitting 4 home runs. I think he's up there with Terraro, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's the next thing I was going to ask you about was Gabriel Torrero, who I absolutely love this guy, man. And like you were mentioning about the other guys, he's a fun guy to talk to, and he's one of those exciting guys, and I can't wait to see more from him.
Yeah, little short kid too, man. I'm telling you, I feel like they're starting to find these types of these little short kids that are just hitting the baseball and they're making impact, man. That's going to be another thing I think we start seeing a little bit more of. Like I said, with Orton is another kid. He's short, impacts the baseball, but he gets the bat on it. And I think that's something that they're trying to develop on the earlier age because it's harder to teach hit over power. So like you can teach power, but it's harder to teach hit, right? Because you can't always identify, you can't see everything. So But that's their thing, man. I love that kid too, man. He's great too. He's a fun kid too, man. And then you got Brando, obviously down there. That's the big signing kid, man. I told both you guys when he first signed, I said, this year, man, I wouldn't look into it because he did the same thing that they did with Roderick and with Dominguez, man. They sat him out a couple of years. He hasn't really did that. And before he signed, man, his swing got a little loopy. So obviously it's going to take a year to fix that, right? Because they're going to have to, watch him struggle a little bit. He hasn't really even struggled that much. He just hasn't hit for power the way that you would hope that he would hit for power.
Yeah, I think I told you early on. I hit you up. I said I've watched like 5 of his games, and all he's doing is hitting ground balls right now. And it was a little frustrating. And then you told me that he's like, well, he hasn't played in a while. His swing was a little loopy, and I forgot. I was like, yeah, this dude hasn't played in like 2 years or something like that because he's been stashed. But yeah, there's some rust there that definitely needs to be kicked.
Yeah, it'll be a year. Like I said, next year we can start really judging him, man, and having a more honest conversation about him. He's stealing bases well, man. He's taking his walks. He's not striking out like every at bat. He's still going to be a very good kid, man. I'm not worried about him. He's going to be an elite top 10 Yankee prospect, if not top 5 easily.
So as far as him, do you expect him to repeat the level, or do you think he'll be an FCL next year?
He's going to go to FCL next year. There's no way you repeat that kid at that kind of money. I think it's the same like Roderick, man. They'll move him up and he'll go play center field. So I think
I'm going to be honest with you, since I just started watching FCL stuff or paying attention to it a lot more. I was a little surprised by Roderick because he had only played about 30 games in the DSL, and even though the plate discipline was very good, I wouldn't say he had a very good season.
It was bad. It was bad.
And again, it was because of the hand injury. He started late, and then you know how it is. You get this huge signing bonus, and now you're a teenager. You're like, I gotta prove to them. That this is worth it. And I could see why, he struggled at times.
It's the same thing, man. I think you got Hans too, man. Hans has struggled every year until this year. I mean, he's in a slump right now, but I mean, he struggled every year leading up into this year, man. I feel like he was the big kid in a bad class, right? It wasn't a great class.
Yeah, that was not a good class.
So, and I remember when I talked to some people there, they were like, man, I like Hans. He's a very good kid, man. Just watch. And I was like, I don't really see it. Like, I didn't really see it.
I'm with you. I'm with you because I said the same thing. I've been watching him. I've been watching him for 2 years. I've been watching him. Yeah, when you told me that, I'm like, I've been watching him for 2 years, and he's a $2 million bonus, baby. I don't see it. I don't see it. But this year, I'm like, and I said it. He's shut me up this year. He's playing fantastic right now. Yeah, he's slumping a little bit, but that first half of the season, off the charts.
Yeah, he's killing it this year, man. He's a special talent too, man. If he hits, I don't think he'll ever be a Yankee because I think there's just too much talent in those positions over him. But I mean, he's a kid that eventually, if they can continue to grow him, he'd be a good trade piece. I feel like, to be completely honest with you.
I mean, there's definitely a stack of middle infielders, and there probably are a few guys ahead of him on the pecking order.
Yeah, 100%. Especially after you just drafted a kid first round too. That's gonna
I like the kid.
Let me ask you about one more other guy down there. What do you think about Luis Ogando?
Man,
he's another guy that was a shortstop. They haven't played in third base. Oh, you don't know too much about him?
Yeah, not too much.
Breakout year for him.
I know he's having a good year, man. Him, Gomez.
Yeah, breakout year for him.
Yeah,
what about John Eambert?
See, he had that 3-homer game, man.
Yeah,
that 3-homer game, man. And like I said, man, I was wrong. I was wrong last year. I said it, man. I said Cerna, I didn't see it with him either. Like Jared Cerna, I was like, I didn't see it, and he killed it this year.
Yeah.
So I did say that. I'll be a man of my word, man. If I'm wrong at one point, I wouldn't have traded him or cut him, but I would have, gave him a chance. But I was wrong because I said I didn't see anything. I don't see anything there though. I don't see it. Everybody, a blind squirrel catches a nut.
I mean, he wasn't. I'm looking over his numbers last season. There was nothing to write home about. But this year, he's definitely breaking out. I don't know how real it is. I think Dane, you've asked me about him as well, and I told you the same thing. Last year I looked at his numbers, watched him play a little bit. I didn't see anything that was, quote unquote special. But I mean, this year he's absolutely breaking out. This year, he did have a 3-homer game. I think he has 4, maybe 5 home runs at this point, but he's hitting like 340. So, I mean, definitely a breakout season for him.
Yeah, he's also repeating, though. He's also repeating the DSL, man. Eventually, at some point, you got to move up. Same thing with Ari. It's like, kid's arm is unreal, but I got to see it at that next level now. It's time to move him up. let him play in the FCL. So.
Yeah. Now, do we want to jump in the FCL a little bit?
I'm ready to talk about whoever. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, I want to get
you guys both know who I really like down there. I mean, to me, I think Emmanuel outside of Roderick Arias, it's Emmanuel Tejada. Absolutely love that kid.
Unbelievable kid, man. Unbelievable. That bat is unreal. It's special.
Yeah, it is.
He's gonna be a good one. I would actually move him up before I moved up any other shortstop prospect down there, because he looks
But I told you that, Dane. I told you that if the Yankees ready to make FCL promotions, that it has to be Roderick and Tejada. I would promote both of them, but of course there's a clog. There's a clog, and the clog is because Cerna is still there, and Cerna's still there because they got Kyles and Vargas ahead of them, and so on and so forth.
Clog there at high A. I don't care what nobody says, man. Like I was just telling Dane,
but they paid what $1.8 million to Vargas. That's a clog to me.
Over 2. They paid over 2 for him. I think 2.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was
that's a clog to me. That's a clog to me. And
Cal should not be blocking Cerna.
I've said this 100 times. He's playing okay right now, and I guess the Yankees like him. But I said, but Cerna's a top 30 prospect. He should not be getting blocked by this.
He's a top 10, man. He's a top 10 kid right now.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about as far as pipeline. I'm going by pipeline, but yeah, he's definitely one of the Yankees' top 30 prospects. There's absolutely no reason that the kid who is 21 years old, second in the organization in home runs, second in the organization in RBIs.
Well, he's got to be third, right? He's third right now.
He's third in home runs.
Well, third now. But yeah, there's no reason why he should be blocked and not playing at Hudson Valley. This should have happened over a month and a half ago.
100%. I don't disagree,
100%.
man. He's earned it. But that's the thing that, like, listen, man, I was just explaining this to Dane, right? You have your regular organization. Let's think about, forget it being the New York Yankees for a second. Let's just talk about normal business,
please.
Right? Your frontline workers, right, are the most important part of your business. I don't care. If they don't work hard, you're not going to make any money because they're not going to do the right job for you, right? So the way that I look at it, man, is those minor leaguers are your frontline workers, right? You have those guys that are going to go in there, work hard, everything else like that. If you keep giving them the same work with no increase of pay ever, right, for years and years and years or anything like that, your frontline workers are going to get burnt out and not want to work hard, right? So if you keep them at the same level when they're performing at an elite level for overdue, just keep doing it over and over and over and over again, eventually they're going to say, screw this, man. I'm working as hard as I can. I've already shown I'm better than everybody else at this level. Why am I not being promoted? I'm working my butt off as an employee for this organization, and they don't recognize me. But that's on nobody but Hal. I don't care what nobody says, bro. He has shown me time and time again. I don't care whatever I have to do right now. I'm going to go off. He's shown me time and time again that he's incapable of leading an organization. I don't care if it's McDonald's. I don't care if it's the New York Yankees. He can't lead any organization, man, because he gets behind people and makes them Teflon. There's no reason that anybody in this organization is Teflon. Brian Cashman has won one championship because of himself. In 2009, it's because they bought the entire free agent class. That's the only reason why they won. Like, I'm not going to put it short. And you had generational talents on your team: Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte.
I don't credit him for any of those. To me, all of that was Stick Michaels and Watson, Bob Watson. Yeah. I don't give him credit for any of that. I think the only move that I could say that
you got to give him
any significant difference.
I'm not gonna knock him. You got to give him 09 because he paid for those dudes. He got CC Sabathia.
Yeah, no, I'll give him 09, and I also give him. I think from just off the top. My shit is be crazy sometimes, but off the top, the David Justice deal was absolutely amazing for him, and it worked out. I can't think of anything else right now where I was like,
Bobby
yeah,
Abreu
that's
was
all
a pretty good deal. I like the Bobby Abreu deal,
but it didn't result to winning.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, that's my
true.
thing. The Yankee model is we're going to win a championship every year, right? It's not. Now it's more like, well, we're going to try to go for the wild card now. So, and they kind of switched it up on us, right? It was like a bait and switch. So that I don't classify that as a win for him because it didn't amount to anything.
Yeah, it's time, man. It's time for, listen, if Hal Steinbrenner is serious about really being an owner of the New York Yankees, it's about creating a culture, right? And the culture is, if you perform and you do good, then you have a job. I don't care about if I pay out a $30 million contract to Aaron Hicks. If somebody down in the minor leagues like Esteban Florial or somebody like
Oh gosh.
Or Pereira is kicking that dude's butt, then he needs to get a chance here, man. You never gave that man a chance. So at the end of the day, you look at it and say, you know, people say, well, like I'm already reading on Twitter, man, 2 games in, oh, Peraza's trash. 2
Oh yeah, I
games
saw
in,
that.
2 games in,
I
we're
saw
gonna have
that.
a conversation about somebody's trash 2 days in. Like that dude is
Well,
pressing hard because you never gave him a chance. He has to come up here, stress out about if he's gonna have a job or not. Instead, a manager, a real manager that's not even Aaron Boone, man, and going on TV telling people, well, if you're a manager, then you could do blah, 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 so on and so forth. Enough with that, man. At the end of the day, sit down with this dude, tell him, like, hey, look, man, I'm here to support you any way I can. This is your job. You know, just go in there and play baseball, man. I don't care what the results say. Just go out there and play baseball, and it'll come to you. That's it. Because that
no,
dude's
they
been
saved
doing
that.
that his whole life.
They saved that speech for Donaldson.
That's all it is, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And
man.
I think when it comes to Hal, I think he's more worried about his image, right? He doesn't want fans getting on him. He doesn't want fans booing him, and that's why he got off of his jet and signed Judge because he heard the fans. But I don't know what he was talking about. What is it last month? Where he was talking about we're 3 weeks into June. Yeah, why the fans are angry? Like, hello, we've been watching this bullshit for the last 3-4 years. It's the same exact thing. And then at the end of the year, you give us the same exact excuses. Well, players were hurt. Well, players are going to be hurt if you have the same crop of people. Yeah, you don't want to give a shot to anybody else. You want to be bargain shopping in the clearance section. This is what you get.
It's so frustrating to me at the major league level. We have run out trash in left field all year, and Esteban Florial had an incredible year last year, or not incredible, but very good.
He had a very good year.
He's having an even better year this year. He's the legitimate outfielder that is a plus defender in my book with an excellent arm. And he's done everything that you've asked of him to do. Why not give him a shot? It doesn't make any sense.
Because he's not a top 20 overall prospect in baseball. If you're not a top 20 overall prospect in baseball, you don't get an honest shot. If you look at all the years, the last like 10 years, other than Gary Sanchez, who was a top 10 at one point, he was a top 20 overall prospect in baseball. Aaron Judge was a top 20 overall prospect in baseball. Luis Severino, Gleyber Torres was top 3 to 5. You got Anthony Volpe, who was top 3 to 5 on lists. I mean, if you're not top 20 in all of baseball, they don't even know who you are. They don't know who you are.
Well, Hal mentions Peraza every. Hal mentions
it's funny that you mentioned that. I was gonna say it's funny that you mentioned that because I have talked to scouts at the lower levels and they say the same thing. That Cash isn't as plugged in as a lot of people think he is. They just assume, but he doesn't really know what's going on at those levels. Now, I don't know how true that is, but it's just something that I have heard, and it just boggles the mind. I'm like, how is it that your fans are aware of all of these things? You're getting paid. You're a VP, a senior VP, and yet you don't know these things. You're not aware of them. No one is reporting up to you, or you're not reading these reports. How?
He's Teflon. Like I said, man, you can't run an organization where somebody's Teflon doesn't work hard. At the end of the day, man, in order for them to do that, you have to have somebody that wants to create an identity. He doesn't. He doesn't know what he wants because he doesn't know what to do. And he has a boss above him that's incapable of making decisions on an executive level. It's not, he got inherited his team. Listen, man, the only way that we're going to put that he would get pushed out is that the fans do what they did to James Dolan on the Knicks, man. You have to literally push every day, sell the team. You're trash, man. You look like garbage, man. Like, and this dude had to go in there and get scanners of Madison Square Garden and throw people out of the arena. They literally were gonna riot in New York City at Madison Square Garden until he fired Steve Mills, who had a job there for like 30 years. I mean, that's the same thing, man. It's time that you get the trash out and you try to grow the organization. Like, I'm okay with that. I'm a Knicks fan, man. I'm okay with the direction that they're going, man. They're not pushing out, and it's not the same. They have an identity, and I'm okay with that. And I know what their identity is. But you can't tell me that the Yankees have an identity because they don't. You're running the same nonsense out again. And you're not going to promote anything within if you're going to keep doing the same thing. It's called the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Now, I know
let me just say real quick. That's something that I've told people on and on. Baseball's supposed to be a true meritocracy, right? If you do well, you get promoted, and that just doesn't seem to be happening at a pace that it should happen in this organization. Because, as you've said before, there's a lot of players that should have been promoted that aren't. Like Cerna, Drew Thorpe, Florial, Peraza should have gotten their shots a long time ago. And for some reason, it just doesn't happen. Instead, we have to read about rumors that, the Yankees are now looking for a catcher and a left fielder. And you're like,
Oh,
don't you already have that somewhere in this organization?
You do, though. You genuinely do. I mean, you have Florial, you have Pereira. I saw some stuff today. I know one of our guys wrote something about the ground ball rate. I don't care about the ground ball rate. If he can put the ball in play, eventually he's going to find holes, man. That's how it works, man. I'd rather be able to put the ball in play than strike out every time like Donaldson. I watched this man stare at strike threes right down the middle more times than I ever want him. And I don't care, man. I'm not trying to poop on a player, man. That's not my thing, man. I think Donaldson could be a great dude, man. No knock there, but it's the creating of an identity, man. And it starts with Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman, right? Randy Levine I don't know how that dude still has a job too, man. That's another dude. But I mean, if we're gonna start from the top and then work our way down, the moves that have to be made is you have to fire him, create an identity. The identity that should be made for the Yankees is that about 14 to 15 of your players on your roster are built from within. And then you can make
that would be fantastic.
That's the way it should be. That's the real way of that's how you create a dynasty, right? Because you grow a bunch of players that actually can play and fit molds and actually have an identity of playing off each other. And then you create a good minor leagues because those players are like, well, you know what? I just saw 15 dudes be promoted from working hard and going there. They're going to keep that mindset. And then if a player does good at a level, promote him. Don't sit him there for 100 innings. I don't need to see Drew Thorpe throw 100 innings at high A. I need to see that dude at double A pitching right next to Hampton and seeing what we got there.
Absolutely.
We talked about this a little bit before we came on air, but I wanted to run through this. Why do the kids in the international free agency market keep signing with us if they don't think that they can get promoted, if they don't think they're going to get a shot with the Yankees?
To me, it just comes down to brand name, right? Yankees is the pinnacle, right? Going to work for the Yankees is like going to work for Coca-Cola, going to work for IBM. It's an accomplishment in and of itself. And a lot of these players feel like, hey, that's not going to happen to me. I know I can play at this level. I know I can get to the next level. I know I can get to the big leagues and one day play in New York. That's their mentality. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just that they're not being rewarded for when they actually produce.
Yeah, he hit it right on the head, man. He hit it right on the head.
I agree.
The foundation, right? It's your foundation now. Like I said, I'm not knocking the kids. I'm not knocking the scouts. I'm not knocking. They do all of the right things, right? But I'm knocking the people that are making the decisions, right? Those 5 people that have been in this position since like 2007 all the way down to 1999, right? You got people in those positions, and hiring Omar Minaya is not going to change my mind on that there. It's still going to be Brian.
I mean, especially if he doesn't have real power.
Exactly. He doesn't. You don't in that position. Man, everything I've always heard is Hal says, Brian Cashman brings something to me and then we sign off. That's the reason, man, that we keep failing, right? Because James Dolan always wanted to keep making decisions for the Knicks, man. And eventually, you give somebody that really understands what they're doing on how to create an identity, and you can work with that person as an owner, but you should still leave those baseball decisions or those basketball decisions to that person, right? Which is why eventually you'll create a dynamic of like, okay, I see the ultimate end goal, right? I see the ultimate end goal, and I see the dynasty growing, and I see what players are worth, keeping around and what players aren't. If this guy's not at every level, man, checking out these players and doing that, he's not working hard enough. He's not, because how are you going to know what you have if you're not down there with a scout sitting there watching those games as well? Instead, you're sleeping on the street, man, trying to raise money for. Come on, man.
I was just thinking about that.
Well, that's why I've always respected the AJ Perella, the San Diego GM, because he goes down and watches his kids. He goes out on the road and scouts before the draft. He gets quality players in that organization, and they do really well with them. They trade most of them, but they do really well bringing them in, and he knows what he has at every level. Brian Cashman doesn't. He counts on his scouts. He counts on everybody telling him what he has, and he's not laying eyes on it. It's just not.
Well, I don't even think it's the scouts. I think it's more the analytics department, not the scouts, because the scouts are boots on the ground, right?
Yeah. Don't get me
So he's
started
worried.
on Michael
So he's
Fishman.
worried
I'll lose
more.
my
So he's
mind.
worried more about the guys behind the keyboard in the office, telling them, "Oh, look, this player is doing this. This player is doing that. This player is not doing that." Instead of worrying about the guy who's on the ground and watching those players.
And that's where you can't create an identity. You can't create it on a keyboard, man.
No, if I have to hear one more time about the Yankees' internal metrics and who they favor versus what other scouts say, I'm going to lose my mind, because you can see who they favor. It's the guys they promote quickly, and they're leaving some of the best ones down, like Drew
Well, who
Thorpe,
are they
like
promoting quickly? Who are they promoting quickly?
Chase Hampton.
He earned it.
Yeah, but he's the only one.
Who are they promoting quickly? Who's really been promoted quickly to the major leagues?
No one.
Well,
Absolutely no one.
Not to the major leagues, but I would say that Will Warren quickly rose up the ranks. Granted, he's not at the major league level yet, but he was a fast riser.
Yeah, but he's not in the majors, and we'll see how long he marinates in AAA. You know what I'm saying?
That's another thing. Is like, to me, and I know this is a very simplistic way of looking at it, but to me, I view prospects almost like baked goods, right? You can only bake them for so long, and if you leave them too long, they get burnt out. And that's the same thing that happens with prospects. You know, people, a lot of, and Dane, you and I have had this conversation, that I sometimes have disdain with Yankee fans because they're very different from Yankee fans who follow prospects. They expect everything to happen like that. And if it doesn't happen like that instantly, this is a failure. This is another thing. Like, they're very cynical a lot of times. Oh, this guy's a bum. Like you were saying, Peraza, 2 bad games. Oh my God, I knew it. Get rid of him. Bring in the next guy. I'm like, Jesus Christ, yo, this is baseball. This is a marathon. This shit is not a sprint. You're not gonna have anybody who comes out of the gate hitting 500. Be patient. These things take time. You know, the Yankee dynasty wasn't built overnight. That was a lot of, as Bernie Williams, that was very painful for Bernie Williams. And, you know, you had even Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter, when he came out originally, they sent his ass back down. And the only reason he got promoted the following season was because Tony Fernandez broke his shoulder or injured his shoulder. He was done for the season. And the same thing when they promoted Robbie Cano. Robbie Cano was promoted because Tony Womack was trash. And I hate to bash players as well, but Tony Womack was not good. And that's the only reason that Cano was called up. And even that in itself was a miracle, because the Yankees were trying to give away Cano in a trade. I think it was to Arizona a few years ago. Texas. And Arizona was like, yeah, no thanks. Oh, Texas. They were like, yeah, no thanks. So that was just dumb luck.
Yeah, Cano was supposed to be part of the A-Rod deal, and they turned him down.
Yeah, they wanted to Soriano.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, Soriano was a big time hit bat, you know what I'm saying? So they wanted that. So I can understand that. But I mean, it hasn't been like that in a long time, man. It hasn't been where you're gonna call these dudes up and you're gonna grow. Like Austin Wells, man, should not be having 400 plate appearances at AA. That doesn't make sense, man. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like you're not selling anything that's telling me that you're gonna say, well, his defense not there. It's grown, it's improved.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's improved, man. And I'll be honest with you, I look at Trevino and I look at, and you can say Trevino is one of the better catchers defensively in baseball, but he's not really throwing people out on these base paths either, man. Nobody really is right now.
Nope.
You know? So you're not going to, the arm to me doesn't really matter right now, man, right? You're going to, if you can hit it, you get lucky, you get it. But I mean, they're just kids, man, that should not be sitting at certain levels, man. It needs to be time to grow them. And the best GM in the league, man, is Alex Anthopoulos, man, from the Braves.
100%.
He's the best. There's no question, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He didn't even care with Toronto, man. He would straight up say, "We're gonna build from within." That's why they got Bo Bichette, they got Vladdy Jr., they got all these young kids, man. They were able to grow, and now you're looking at it, and you're like, okay, wow, that's a team that's still a problem. Now look at Baltimore. They're doing the same exact thing, man. They drafted well. They got these kids up here. They're killing it. They're in first place, man. The Tampa Bay Rays, man, they bring kids up or they make smart trades to get kids that end up being elite level players. So, you know, how do you know that if you're not doing those levels of work? And I don't, and listen, man, you've been there 20 something years and you have one superstar to show for it under your belt. And that's Aaron Judge, man. Aaron Judge. Everybody else either had to be signed or traded for. And then when most of your pitching trades have all failed. They've all failed, man.
Oh my God.
Sonny Gray's been trash here, man. And then he ended up going somewhere else and being good. All of your pitching trades that you have, Frankie Montas, man, all these guys that you're giving away like 7 or 8 people for are all trash. They're all garbage. So It's got to be at some point, man. This is on you. You're the one who's saying that this is the guy we should go for. We didn't have to go for Luis Castillo because we had to get this guy, Frankie Montas, right? So if you want to build an empire, man, show that these young kids, and I'll be honest with you, man, the kids that come up like Johnny Brito already pitch better than Frankie Montas. So I'd rather 100%. See you call the kid up like that and throw out those numbers because it's going to be on a cheaper contract. I don't have to pay that dude $9 million, $10 million. Or you have a kid like Vasquez, man, who has been killing it, but I don't understand why we're holding a kid like that back. If he's performing at a major league level, like Heel was, Luis Heel, man, he was pitching at an elite level, and then the wheels started to come off. But at the end of the day, man, if they're going on a hot streak, let them roll, especially if you're trying to make the playoffs, you know?
Vasquez is the guy
I have a peeve. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
Vasquez, I have a peeve. Go ahead.
Good grief, man. I'm sorry. Vasquez is a guy I really am high on. I don't understand why he is not in that taking the ball every 5 days. He's got an ERA below 2, I believe, at the major league level. What are you waiting for to get him more experience?
For him to nothing else. 0 ERA at AAA. That's all they want.
Yeah, and it's never going to happen. And the worst part about it is there's going to be a 40-man crunch with him next year, and he's probably going to end up traded in the next 2 weeks or this winter or something because they simply have too many guys coming that they have to protect. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it all goes back. Let me ask you a question. So, because I'm just getting a feeling like, is it that the front office is scared of their own prospects doing something wrong or burning them? Because I've asked you this before, Dane. I'm like, when has a prospect ever come along that the Yankees have pushed and they gotten burned by them? Only one guy. And who is that?
Anthony Volpe.
He's the only prospect that has ever burned them. Any other guy that they've called up has typically played well for them. That they said, well, we're gonna count on him. I think every single prospect that I can think of has worked out well for them, and it's just been the one case, which is Volpe. And again, you know, I'm not trying to bash Volpe. I like Volpe. I think he's eventually going to be a very good player for the Yankees. But that's just a fact. He's been the only player that I could say has burned the Yanks.
I would add to that he's the only guy they've given an extended shot to that has burned them. Yeah. They don't give extended shots to many guys. But look at Cabrera. He came up last year. He was good, and he's been not very good this year, and they keep running him out there when he clearly needs some time to adjust to things or change some things. But they've given him tons of run, but they won't give a guy like Peraza a run. It just drives me nuts.
I always thought that Cabrera. I thought Cabrera should have just been a utility player, not really a starting left fielder. I think he should have been a guy that comes off the bench a couple times a week, and that way you give him a chance to acclimate himself with major league pitching, and you don't expose him. And unfortunately, when you give a guy that many at bats per week, and I'm gonna say I like Cabrera.
I do too, a lot.
But I didn't really think much of him when he was in the system. He was a mid-level prospect. I think we'd say like 15 to 20. I didn't actually think he was going to get a shot.
He's like Bastidius, man. They're the same kind of player, man. They're very good defensive players positions, and they hit at the minor leagues. But you guys nailed it on the head, man. He should have never been awarded that starting position, man. And he still shouldn't be anywhere near a starting position, man. And I'm okay with that. But he is a very good utility player. He's going to go out there. He can play the play. I think that, man, but you have too many of those. You have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa as well, man, who's playing solid this year. But they've run him out playing center field, which is mind-boggling, man.
Oh, my God. He's almost got a couple guys killed.
Yeah, he did.
And Harris, listen, man, the Yankees, the best thing they could do is sell. And I'll be honest with you, I'll name you 4 dudes they need to get rid of right now, man, because it doesn't make sense. So Luis Severino, I love Severino. I do. I always love Severino, man. He's been a great kid. Too. Time to move on. Mm-hmm. Send him to Cincinnati, who's looking for pitching. Send him to Texas, who's looking for pitching. Those teams are looking for that. I would trade him off, man, and say, look, man, go kill it. If you get a good contract there, more power to you. That's one kid. The second kid I would definitely try to move is Harrison Bader if you can, man, because I don't see a reason to re-sign Harrison Bader if he's injured. The only thing I would do with Harrison Bader If it makes sense, I would qualifying offer him and give him 1 year and like I make it or break it year. But that's debatable while you have other guys move up the system and stuff like that to continue. Because I don't really know if we have a true elite center fielder on that that's ready yet.
Right.
So those would be those two guys. I would also look at trading Michael King, depending on what you can get for him. I think the arm is still there, but I would try to see if I can get a high level potential couple of prospects there. I would try to move him, man. I would try to get off of him as well, just because I don't know how well the arm will hold up. And I feel like they don't really run him out the way that you run a normal reliever out there. So I would try to see if I can move him. And my last one's Gleyber. And that's my favorite player in the Yankees. I want to make that clear. Before I say this, he's my favorite player in the Yankees. He always has been since he's been called up. But what I will tell you is I would actually move Gleyber. I think the team that makes the most sense for Gleyber Torres right now is the Los Angeles Dodgers. I would trade him there. And they have a kid named Joandry Vargas, man. I've been saying it nonstop. That kid is going to be a top 15 kid in the majors. I guarantee it. Buy him now before you can't touch him with a 10-foot pole, because the Dodgers will protect him at all costs. He is going to be like their Diego Cartaya, who just moved up. He was an elite level signing and he just moved up, but you can probably get him right now in a trade for Gleyber Torres. But if you wait, you're not going to get him.
You really think
he's in the DSL?
He's in the Dominican Summer League right now, hitting like over 350 or something. He's just crushing balls, man.
And you think that there's a chance they would part with him?
In a Gleyber Torres trade right now for a year and a half of Gleyber Torres, I think, yeah, you could probably get him. You could probably make that trade happen.
And what position does he play?
He's a short. He's a 6'4" shortstop.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
He's a monster. And like I said, you like growing those shortstop prospects, that'll help you continue to grow. That's a kid I wouldn't move off once I get him, though. He's a kid that is very, very elite. The other kids I would try to target as well if I'm going to move. Like I like Ricardo Cabrera. If you can get him from in the Luis Severino trade from what's his name, from Cincinnati Reds, I would do it 100%. He's almost hitting 400 in the FCL. So I mean, you want to look at that kind of kid, man. He's a shortstop kid too that came in Roderick's class. He was ranked number 3 in that class, I believe. And he's hitting almost 400 right now. So as a right-handed bat. So you have him. I also like from Texas, at least I like Luis Angel Acuna. I like Acuna's brother. I think he's a kid I could actually put in the outfield and he'll play it fine. I'm not really too worried. He's a shorter kid. But he's all bat, man. He's gonna mash. That kid just likes to hit, man. He's a good one. And he's at AA right now, and he's probably due for promotion to AAA pretty soon. I just don't think they have anywhere to play him. So I think they'd be willing to part with him because they literally their third base, shortstop, and second base were all just all-stars. So they're not playing him anywhere. And then the other kid, man, if possible, if you can get Gleyber possibly to Seattle too, I would consider that too, because they need a second baseman in the worst way. And I would target Feldman Celestin, man. That kid is straight up Roderick Arias 2.0. Like again, he's a beast, man. He hasn't played yet, but he's a kid that if you can try to get him, I would target. I don't know if they would trade him because he was just that kind of level signing. But if you could, I would try to target him. But I would get.
He was in last year's IFA class, right?
Yeah. Both of them were. So was Joandry Vargas. Both of them. They were like ranked 2 and 3 in that class, according to MLB.com. So those are the two kids that like you really aren't going to miss on either one of those kids, man. It's just a matter of time for them to continue to grow.
I'm all for that, but you don't see teams trading their top IFA signing 1 year after they sign or at least very rarely.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah, it is rare because you got a Tatis situation, right? Because then you traded for James Fields for Tatis, and then that guy becomes a superstar. But I mean, listen, man, you're not trading a Gleyber Torres for just a DSL kid most times, right? You're not just trading. You're gonna want somebody that's near major league ready, not somebody you're gonna have to wait on. But I would target one of those two dudes in a package for like a pitcher that's maybe major league ready or close to major league ready. Because you can build a package of Gleyber Torres. He's a good above average player. He's not a bad player, man. Yeah, he has 9 errors, and the errors are annoying and people get frustrated. But I don't know if I'm going to go out there and give Gleyber Torres $200 million. I don't know.
No,
I don't think I would, because you have a bunch of middle infielders coming up. You know, the question is, do you want to sign this dude for $200 million? And I personally don't. And I love him, but I don't want to do it on a Yankees front. Like, for me, I think that this is what we should have done with Cano. You know, you moved off Cano and didn't lose everything for him. You can actually get a giant building piece that, you know, eventually we might say 10 years down the line, yo, we have the best shortstop in baseball, and we got him for Gleyber Torres.
Yeah,
So,
you really could. I'm not a huge Gleyber guy, and we've all talked about this together, but with all the middle infield talent in the system, you're not going to lock him up long term. It's just, it makes no sense. So you got to move him at some point, and his value right now is the highest it's been. I don't know. It just makes sense, especially with where that team is right now.
That's something that I've seen a lot of Yankee fans say. Well, some Yankee fans say, you know, just sign Gleyber, re-sign him. And I'm thinking, well, what are you going to sign him for? You're looking at about 170, $200 million. I don't think the Yankees are really about that life. I don't think they really want to give him that kind of money, because you're talking about paying him $20+ million a year. Do the Yankees really want to do that right now?
Well, the view of it, Gleyber, is he actually Robin to Judge's Batman. If you sign him for the next 10 years, 8 years, a huge deal, that's what you're signing him to be. And I don't see him as that guy.
No.
If he's the fourth or fifth best player on your team, you've got a heck of a team. But is he really a number two?
I mean, he definitely could be. I'm not going to knock Gleyber Torres like that, because I think that he could definitely be, but I just don't think that it makes sense, man, because I think Peraza's overall value really was a shortstop, and the Yankees have no interest playing him there, obviously, with Volpe here right this second. So his actual real value would be at second, and I don't think he's going to make many errors there. Like, yeah, he's fielded third very well. You know, so I expect him to do that. And then you have Trey Sweeney coming up, who's a left-handed bat, who I still think has got a lot of potential to play third. I prefer him at third.
So do I.
Over those two guys.
So do I.
You know, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Like, right, you want to be able to still get value, but we don't want to cut it down and make it where it's only a half a year value for somebody that, you know, we're talking there. Like, I know everybody was like, let's get Soto and trade 5,000 prospects for him, right? But eventually, he's already made clear, I'm not signing with anybody until I'm a free agent. So you can get him for a second and a fifth round pick. So why are we going to go crazy on getting a bunch of prospects there now for a dude that's not going to carry the Yankees to a playoff run? He's not. He can't do it by himself, not with this roster. So
when it comes to Torres, let me ask you: you don't think that Yankees can get similar production within a year or two, where Peraza is actually putting up the same kind of production as Gleyber for what minimum?
He very well could. He very well could. And I think he's a better defensive player, way better defensive
absolutely,
player.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can get the overall value now for a team that wants to compete, right? So the ultimate goal, the real team that makes the most sense is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have a big hole at second base, and technically shortstop too, but they have a big hole at second base. So you could actually really put on a clinic on getting him, because, like I said, Joandry Vargas is a young kid. It's a kid that you don't have to stash him on your 40-man, so it opens up 40-man space. He's a kid that's going to probably have to move immediately to the FCL because he's too good for the DSL. No questions asked there. And then you get a chance to grow this kid at the age of 17, man, a 6'4" kid at 17 years old that probably is going to end up a lot like a Tatis. He's that kind of player, man. He's fast. His arm is big. I think he's got 4 or 5 home runs already down there. And like I said, he's mashing 350. So, I mean, you know, that's exciting for a kid there, and it's over 100 at bats down there, man. And he just looks better than everybody else on his team. So, I mean, that's the way that I would try to do that, and then try to grab one of their arms. You know what I'm saying? Maybe get like a Sheehan or somebody along those lines that they like. But I would try to target like a package specifically around him, because I feel like he's a kid that you can eventually grow with, right? And that's the ultimate goal, because you have too many middle infielders coming up right now that I don't want to subject to get more that are right there.
Yeah. We have anything else left we want to run over? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Yeah, man.
All
I've
right,
been
boy.
killing it, so.
We'll cut that a little bit, but it was wonderful having you guys on. It was awesome. Nick, we want to have you back a lot. So hopefully we can see you soon.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Later.
Later.